Cue music. We're all about class when it comes to pens, and we like to let it show. Welcome to Fountain Pen Radio, presented by FPGeeks.com. And now for Fountain Pen enthusiast hosts, here's Eric and Dan. Gentlemen.
This is Fountain Pen Geeks Podcast, episode number 30 for Tuesday, June 26, 2012. We are recording live on Saturday, June 22nd. Welcome to Fountain Pen Radio. My name is Eric, and we have a very special show today for at least two reasons. One, Stephen Brown has joined us again. How are you, Stephen?
I am fine, thanks.
Fine and dandy, or just fine?
I am fine, dandy, and excellent.
Fine, dandy, and excellent. And sans wig, what happened?
Well, a ballpoint user stole it.
A ballpoint user stole
so
it.
it's gone.
It's probably better that way. Anyway, and making his Fountain Pen Radio broadcast debut, we have Mr. Brian Anderson sitting in for Dan Smith. Brian, how are ya?
Doing well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Where are you? I happen to know, but maybe not everybody does.
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Appleton, Wisconsin.
Right now.
All right, so I know where Wisconsin is. Where's Appleton?
We are, most people know either Oshkosh or Green Bay, and we're kind of right in the middle.
In the middle of Oshkosh and Green Bay. So you're near are you near a Great Lake of any kind?
Lake Michigan.
Lake Michigan is
Winnebago is right there. We're on Lake Winnebago, but Michigan is to the east.
To the east. And
I didn't know there was going to be a geography quiz.
Neither did I. I'm making this up as we go. And just so everybody knows, Doc Brown, where are you located? And either one of you can ask me where I am at any time. Go, feel free.
Eric, where are you?
I'm in California, Southern California to be exact. Where it's currently 8 a.m.
Exactly.
Brian, I think it's 10 a.m. for you on Saturday, and Stephen, I believe it's a little after 5 p.m., but we are all on the same day.
It is.
We need to get Rocky online someday so that he can actually be talking to us from tomorrow. Shall we continue? Because I've got, lots of stuff to talk about today. And first thing I think we should do, we probably have a slightly larger than usual European audience today because we're broadcasting at a convenient time for Europe. It's 8 a.m. here and only 5 p.m. there. Plus, you're here, Stephen, sort of, representing Europe today. Thank you, as always. And we have this past week, been running a contest without borders, where we're giving away InkJournals. One InkJournal will go to someone in the United States, and one InkJournal will go to someone outside the United States, and I think we should just give that one away right now, the international one, just in case, people in Europe and other parts of the planet want to go to dinner or breakfast or bed, right, Rocky? Actually, I don't know what time it is in Australia. It's probably like 1 a.m. tomorrow or something like that. Stephen, I'm going to have you pick the winning number for the InkJournal for the international. If you'll visit random.org and give me a random number between 1 and 76, I have a list here that will help me find the winner.
The winner is 64.
Number 64. Number 64. Okay, I see who the winner is. As we all know, it's somebody not in the United States. I think I'll mention this. We received 167 entries total. All you had to do was comment on the blog post and say hello from whatever country you were in. Of the 167, 91 were from the United States. 76 were from international locations. Actually, there were 77, but I took yours out, Doc Brown, because you really couldn't win this. I mean, you're picking the winner.
No, of course not. No. But
I'll send you an InkJournal.
I felt obliged to do something.
So, of the 76 international entries, and this is going to be a long list, but I have to say it, I'm going to read the name of the country and the number of entries from each country. Australia, 11. Brazil, 1. Canada, 16. Colombia, 2. Curacao, 1. Dutch Curacao, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
In Dutch, you would say Curaçao. But it's... I know exactly.
All right. 1 from the Czech Republic, 14 from the United Kingdom, 1 from Finland, 3 from Germany, 3 from Greece, 1 from Hong Kong, 3 from the Republic of Ireland, 1 from Italy, 2 from the Netherlands, not including yours, Doc Brown. That would have been number 3. 1 from Norway, 2 from the Philippines, 1 from Portugal, 1 from Qatar, 6 from Singapore. Apparently we're big in Singapore. 1 from South Africa, 1 from Spain, 1 from Switzerland, and 2 from Turkey. This is like 45% of the comments were from international guests. So I think that's fantastic. Anyway, that's winner, awesome. I'll announce the country first, was from the Great White North, Canada, and it was from Mary, who said, "Greetings from Ontario, Canada." And I will contact Mary. That's Merrie. So if your name is Mary, Mary, it wasn't you. I'll contact Mary via email, and we can move on. And we'll come back to talking about the ink journals in a little bit, because it actually, when we get to the news from the website, we'll do that. So thank you very much there. I kind of expected you to pick somebody from Europe, Doc Brown. But I guess you didn't know what numbers were what,
yeah,
huh?
I did my best, but
didn't work. Let's talk about pen shows, shall we? Awesome. Tomorrow is a big pen show. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how big it is, but it's a pen show, and it's the Midland Pen Show. It's in Lichfield, United Kingdom, and the fact that it exists and is going on tomorrow makes it a big pen show to me. I just wish I was there. I'm sure Sarge will be there.
Yeah, I've heard it's a good show.
I know someone who's there too.
Oh, who do you know, Doc Brown? I mean, if you could tell us.
I have contacts everywhere. You wouldn't know. No, it's a lady from the UK who may well stop there on her way back from a work trip. So I'm sure that she can tell us something
good
afterwards.
Have her send a picture if possible, or at least a few words about how it went. And if you see her, if you have contact with her before the show, be sure to send our regards to Sarge, because I'm sure Sarge will be there. Sarge.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some pictures on. I know Pentrace usually has people post.
Oh, cool! All right, so
a lot of the European shows on there. So
we can go to Pentrace as of Monday or so and try to find some pictures. The next one that I know of in the States is in Miami, July 20th to 22nd. The Miami Pen Show I have never been to. I have been to Miami. I just never been to the Pen Show. Has anybody in the room ever been to the Miami Pen Show?
I was there probably 12, 13 years ago, before Bert Ozer ran it. And it was a good show. It was actually my very first pen show.
The Miami Pen Show was Brian Anderson's very first pen show. Now, see, I'm learning this. I'm learning this for the very first time. And 11, 12 years ago, what was the size of the Miami Pen Show? Was it, the 3 pen traders on the desert island that Maya talks about, who all did very well for themselves?
No, it was at, I want to say it was at the Biltmore that year. And it was one large room, and then there was a room off to the side. But for my first show, I still remember what I bought at the show. It was pen overload. So
yeah, that was my experience at my first pen show too. I think I walked away with at least 12 pens from my first pen show. The next pen show that I will be attending will be the DC Super Show in August 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Brian, you'll be there, correct?
Yes,
and you
absolutely.
have been there on many times,
great show.
Many occasions. This will be my first time at the DC Pen Show, the DC Super Show.
This will be my fourth time this year.
So Now you don't usually go to Los Angeles. Have you ever been to Los Angeles?
I've never been. Lisa has. We're going to go next year. We've planned it out.
Really?
But it's a logistical problem for us.
Yeah, it's a little
we
far
have
away.
to take essentially a week. It's a 2-day drive for us.
You're driving.
So.
They have these things called
we
aeroplanes.
We drive to all the shows.
Well, the first time I went to Chicago, I drove.
The amount of stuff
yeah, I know.
have?
That's the problem. If you fly, you can't take your stuff with you. Many people might be turning in, Doc Brown, because I said that you had an important announcement to make regarding your future in the pen community. My computer doesn't want you to make this announcement, Doc Brown.
No, well, I'll go tomorrow. Yes, no.
The announcement I put at the blog, at the website, was that you would be back on the show and that you had an important announcement regarding your future in the fountain pen community. And I think some people might have thought you were retiring, and I didn't mean for that to happen, but the cat was out of the bag. So when are you leaving us? No, that isn't the announcement.
Yeah.
Well, you are working on your doctorate.
There were a couple of people who seem to think that. Yes, I am. No, but believe you me, I still have a lot more reviews coming up. So you're not getting rid of me yet. There's more to come. Now, the announcement actually is that I will be visiting the DC Pen Super Show.
You will be in attendance at the DC Super Show. That is, for me, it's very exciting news because I'm going to be there and this affects me directly. Brian, this should be very exciting for you too because we're all going to meet face to face in August. And I guess, awesome. Doc Brown, you're coming as an attendee. Brian will be there as a vendor, I assume. Yes, correct? Okay.
Yes.
So, Doc Brown, you and I have to start planning on what kind of trouble we're going to get into. So we won't be tied down to a table. We'll be able to work the room and get into all sorts of trouble. And that should...
I think afterwards, the DC Pen Show will never be the same. I mean, after we...
it's never seen us before. It's going to change the face of the DC Pen Show forever.
In fact, I am afraid that there may never be a DC Pen Show after we've been there. But we'll work on it.
We'll work on shutting it down. It'll just implode. I guess I'll put something up at the website where people can write in and ask for your autograph, Doc Brown, and then when you get there, I'll just sit you down and make you sign 1,500 autographs, and we'll mail them out. Perhaps we'll get an 8x10 glossy of you, and we'll go on from there. Let me see if I can figure out where I was on our slides here because everything shut down on me because we're about to talk about the current poll at FPGeeks.com was about age ranges. And I thought it was very interesting, the results. Brian, did you voted in the poll, I imagine. Did you take a look at the results?
I haven't looked at the results
yet. Okay, we're going
to
give you just a second to pull up those results because I don't want to pull them up, and you're going to tell us what they are. I'm afraid to touch anything.
Okay. I'm going to refresh just in case. Oh, we had 2 last-minute voters here. Read them top down, I guess, if you want.
What are the top percentages? Last time I looked, it was like nearly 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, wasn't it?
Actually, it's 21, 21, 21, 21, 18, 14, 4.
So those first 3 or 4 were really nicely spread out as far as age range is concerned. Yeah. What is the top one there, age range?
The top one, 26 to 35.
So that would be you, Doc
21%
Brown.
with 89 votes.
Doc Brown would be in that one. And who's next after that?
36 to 45 with 86 votes.
The first 2 top ranges are 26 to 45, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly.
45, yeah.
Mm-hmm. This was a surprise to me and a nice, pleasant surprise that I think our online pen community is a bit younger than what I see at pen shows. Is that what you think, Brian? I mean, not that I've ever taken a poll at a pen show.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people at the shows are getting up there in age. I mean, some of the people are a little bit older. They've been collecting since the 80s, and,
right?
So you do have that, but. I think we have an insurgence of younger collectors.
An insurgence,
which is evident.
That's
here.
Good. They need to come in and take over. There was one. How many votes did we get for the 17 and under?
16. 4%.
That's absolutely fantastic that we have people under 18 who are interested in fountain pens. And what about the 18 to 25?
18 to 25, fourth place, 18% with 76 votes.
76 votes.
So
our audience is much younger than I would have imagined, judging solely from what I see at pen shows. And I think that's fantastic.
You have,
if young people don't get into fountain pens, I don't know what will happen to the industry. It would die. It would die.
We'll have nobody to sell our pens to when we're ready to go.
As long as there's 3 of us, we can keep it all going. Just remember Maya's words. I don't have a poll. Yes.
No, but I think that's kind of it's this is what the impression I get from my YouTube viewers too. I'm contacted by quite a number of people who are in the fairly young age range, and then I mean like 10 to 15 who ask me questions of what pen to get, and I'm in school and I need something to do my homework, stuff like that.
Now let me ask you
so
this:
I was like you, I was surprised.
Are the people the under 15 people, 15 years of age people who are contacting you, are they mostly in Europe? Because that leads to my next question.
I know that
are schools in Europe still? Is it still mandatory to write with a fountain pen while you're learning to write? Because that was true not so many years ago.
No, I think it's definitely in primary school when we learn to write. So primary school in the Netherlands, you enter when you're 4 years old, and then you attend it until you're 12. So and before that there's kindergarten. So when you're about 6, you start to learn how to write, and you start doing that with a pencil. And then I think the next grade, you move up to a fountain pen, which is school supplied, and which is extremely scratchy and with a very fine nib, but it is a fountain pen. Actually, I think that puts off some people from fountain pens because they are scratchy, because they tend to leak a bit, and when people see my pens, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, that reminds me of when I was in school." So that's still alive. Now, from that point onwards, I think so secondary school, so let's say high school, there are no obligations whatsoever, so you can use whatever you like. And I do know that in Germany, I think kids are also obliged to use a fountain pen. And then I know from a German friend that there are actually rules. There is like a specific set of pens parents are allowed to buy for their children, because a lot of parents apparently bought the cheapest pens, which were poor quality, and that hampered the development of the children's handwriting or something. So I thought that was kind of interesting, that schools really establish a list of pens that you are allowed to use. But I'm not sure. The rest of Europe, I'm not really sure about. But I would say definitely there are some countries in which it's really you're obliged to use a fountain.
I think that's fantastic. So our hope lies in Europe, as far as I know. But maybe the same thing's going on in Australia or other parts of the world. But I do know that in the States, if you never want to touch a fountain pen, you don't have to. And then, there's always the rumor that they're not even teaching cursive handwriting anymore in the schools. I don't have any first-hand knowledge of that, but that is the ghastly rumor, and I hope it's not true. But to know that there are countries that still insist that you learn how to handwrite and you do it with a fountain pen, well, that just bodes well for the future, don't you think, gentlemen?
I think so.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And I still remember actually going through all these cursive exercises which we had to do, and it didn't really work out for me because my handwriting was very poor. But it's still the fact that you try to teach children how to do that, I think is worthwhile.
Well, I did have to learn cursive with a fountain pen in 3rd and 4th grade, but that was, the late 60s and a private school, so I don't know if they were doing the same thing in Brian, I don't know what school you went to.
We never
used a fountain pen. Yeah. Now the reason they explained to us that they wanted us to use a fountain pen so that we would learn to write smoothly and not stop for half an hour and let all the ink just blob on the paper, and it worked. I mean, I did learn how to write cursive. And with a fountain pen, but I doubt seriously that's going on. Although maybe in some private schools, it's still being taught because people think it's important. But that is our future, and I think if you have children, you should be teaching them. If you have children and you're watching this program, I'm sure they all know how to use a fountain pen. I don't even have to say that, do I? Shall we talk about the ink journals?
That's true.
Let's talk about ink journals again. You can find these at inkjournal.com. We already gave away 1 3-pack to Mary in Canada. We have to give another one away now to someone in the United States. But I'll just talk about it. We mentioned them briefly last week because it was a new acquisition for me. You can go to inkjournal.com and check them out. They're pocket-sized journals, 3.5 by 5, and they're specifically designed for you to keep track of your inks. Each page, I guess I'll look at one, will let you write down the name of the ink, the date, the pen you're using, the nib, some sort of a sentence such as the quick brown fox or so forth and so on. And then there's various other spaces that you can mark your thoughts on the flow, the saturation, the shading, the drying time. You can scribble and you can make comments. And it's just a fantastic little place to keep all of your notes on inks. And I've already started in on my second journal because I like inks, but I usually completely forget where I've put my last sample. I'll get a sample, I'll put it in a pen, I'll write it on a notebook page somewhere, and then, when I want to go look at it again, I have no idea where I put it. So that's what I appreciate about these, is that it gives me a specific spot for these samples. I don't know if Brian or Stephen have seen them yet.
I'm looking them up right now. They look pretty neat.
Okay, but you haven't seen one live and in person. They're relatively new.
No.
And Stephen, I'll send you a 3-pack there. Brian, I'll send you one too, as thank you for being on the show. And in the meantime, Brian, I'm going to have you pick a number for our winner from the United States. Let me see. From the United States, we need a number between 1 and 91. A number between 1 and 91.
And the winner
Eric,
is...
maybe you can go offline again to heighten the tension a bit.
No, see, this time I called Brian, and he's not kicking me offline. Somehow when I call you, it happens.
That's true.
I'm sorry, Brian, you already had the number. Tell us in a foreign language. No, just to give us the number, Brian. You come out with French, and I don't know.
You put me on the spot. How about number 15?
Number 15. All right. Okay. Interestingly enough, as we know, this entry came from the United States. And if I remember the complete comment, it was, since the United States does not have an official language, I wrote mine in Spanish. So if you wrote this, you already know who you are. It was Saludos desde los Estados Unidos. And the winner is Marco. Marco, congratulations. I will contact you via email to get a mailing address, and we'll get those that 3-pack of ink journals out to you. And I'm sure you're going to love them, because I'm just fascinated by them. And in case I haven't mentioned this, InkJournal is a brainchild and belongs to Tom Otto, who is Gold Spot Luxury Gifts. Mm-hmm. It's a brilliant idea. I really like them.
Yeah, they're very cool. It's fresh, new.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you say, why? First of all, why didn't I think of this before? And second of all, why didn't anybody else think of this before? So I've got you all back. I'll bring you back online. And we were just finishing up with our ink journals, and we're about to start talking about Monteverde. The Monteverde Napa collection fountain pens, advertised as having colors, they actually say, and flavors, from the Napa, California hillside. They're fountain pens that are basically blue, ivory, and red, but they're multicolored, and I think they're quite gorgeous. There's an ink window with which you can monitor the ink level of your cartridge or converter. I'm not sure I need to do that, but the ink window does.
How well does that work?
Well, I suppose you can see through it. The pictures.
It looks a little smoky.
Right, and I don't think there is a cartridge or converter in that picture. And these are the pictures they released. I would have to see what it looks like with the cartridge or converter in there. It might look cool, and it might not. I'd have to see it in real life. There's a wheel on the end of the clip, which I generally appreciate because it makes the clip easier to use. They're available as a ballpoint or a fountain pen. I don't think the ballpoint has an ink window, but I could be wrong. Ballpoints are $90. Fountain pens are $125. Nib choices I thought was interesting. You can get this in fine, medium, broad, and a stub. And
okay.
The one experience that I have that I recall off the top of my head with Monteverde is the Invincia Stylus fountain pen, the all-black one, and I got it with a fine nib, I believe, and it was such an amazingly smooth, fine snib right out of the box. And usually I like to send pens to nibmeisters and say, please give this pen some character, make it smooth, make me love it. I loved this nib right out of the box. So if they're doing the same thing with the nibs on this pen and you can get fine, medium, broad, or a stub, that's a lot of choices. They're available at coloradopen.com.
Is that about
yes. Is that a what?
I was going to say, is that looks like about a 1.1 maybe sized stub on there?
I don't have confirmation on that, but I'm going to trust your eyes, and we're going to call it a 1. Did you say 1.1?
Maybe a 1.1. It looks pretty
We'll
wide.
1.1 stub.
Just a guess.
And I imagine it's a nice smooth stub, judging on my past experience with Monteverde. And really, the price is somewhat affordable at $125.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we know if it posts? It's got a little. The cap is the only thing I don't like is the cap looks a little chunky. But I suppose if it posts well,
I don't.
I think buy that.
I haven't seen any pictures of it posting, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say yes, they designed a pen that posts because they know people like to post. And so somebody correct me if I'm wrong. coloradopen.com, send me an email. Or, Monteverde, you can call me. You have my number. And then we can talk about Montegrappa.
I think it's a really nice color. The blue orange thing. I think I like the other ones too, but I think that the blue and orange works very well. It's very eye-catching.
The blue one did catch my attention. All three of the color combos. I don't know whether they really remind me of the hillsides in Napa, or the fact that they're named Napa Collection put that thought in my head. But I do see the hillsides of Napa in the color schemes that they chose. So I say good job. I say excellent job.
Yeah, my eye is drawn toward that bottom one, the one that's a little more dark brown, orange, red.
Right.
That's
they
really
call
pretty
it a red
pen.
one.
I like the cap band.
I have to. The jury's out on the ink window. I have to put a cartridge in there, a converter in there, fill it with ink, and see what that looks like. It would basically be, I suppose, a tube of ink going up the center of your pen, which might not be too bad. And
It might
I
look
like
cool.
the look of an ink window. Plus, it makes it look like a piston filler. Come on now. All right. From Monteverde, we'll go to Montegrappa, who has updated their Espressione line of fountain pens. Gave it a facelift. The new colors are cobalt blue, dark brown smoke, black, Amazon green. So we've gone from Napa to the Amazon. The cap band is new. They've made it an octagonal shape so that it won't roll when you put the pen down on a desk. I suppose uncapped, because if you had it capped, the clip would stop it from rolling. This is available in a fountain pen, rollerball, ballpoint, mechanical pencil, so you can get whatever you want in this. The fountain pen is cartridge converter. The nib choices for this pen are fine, medium, broad, so they've left out the stub here, unfortunately. And the price ranges from $240 to $295. Of course, the $295 is for the fountain pen. I do not own a single Montegrappa. What a confession to make here on the air.
Mark it down. This date in history.
Mr. Anderson, how many Montegrappas do you have? Now, I know your collection is like 1,200 pens, 1,500 pens. Oh, you're not going to deny that? That was a total guess.
I stopped counting 5 years ago. So.
Well, then you could have 5,000, 10,000.
ago.
Do you have a Montegrappa?
I do not have a Montegrappa.
Doc Brown, do you have a Montegrappa?
I do not have a
All right, so
Montegrappa.
none of us can speak with any authority other than, what do you think of it looks? Do you like the look of this pen? Nobody's going to say anything. I think it's an interesting pen.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's another clip with a wheel.
Yes, it is. But I don't think that's the first time Montegrappa has done that.
No. But it's interesting. It's not the most important aspect. I think the sort of, it's not really a blind cap, but the thing at the end of the barrel where you can.
I think that's where you post.
I
think the cap is postable by screwing it on the end of the pen. Now, see, they didn't say that.
I think it's very interesting to have this screwing thing, because that of course ensures that the cap will stay on, will not fall off. It's just that when it's not posted, I think it looks a bit weird. There's this huge black hole at the butt end of a pen.
Right. It's almost as if they should
sure.
sell it with a little stand for your desk that you can screw the pen into when it's capped. And you know, or
well, for example, that would be an interesting idea.
And then you could get all 1, 2, 3, 4 of the colors and just make a display of your Montegrappas that are all just screwed in there. Of course, grabbing a pen would then become more complicated, but it might be fun. We'll have somebody do that just for fun. That's all I really have to say.
And if you make something like square, if it's square and you have them in the corners, you can have a little table where you can put your inks on.
We're giving you that assignment. That is your homework for this week. Of course, first we have to get you at least one of these.
What I'm surprised.
Yes.
What I'm surprised about is it's so different from the old.
Right,
the
they
old
call
model.
it a facelift.
I'm surprised they even.
But it's more like.
I mean, there's not one part that looks the same.
It's more like a completely new line. Let's go from Italy to Asia and talk about a Nakaya pen. That yes, I know I'm not pronouncing exactly correctly, but somebody needs to sit down with me face to face and explain the proper pronunciation of Nakaya. Anyway, this is the Nakaya Cat Paradise. Now, how in the world do you say this? Byakudan-Nuri with Yakou Maki-e fountain pen. Byakudan.
I think
I would
that's
have to look up Byakudan. Byakudan-Nuri. Now we should.
I think I think the U, if it follows a K, it's sort of silent, so it becomes something like Byakudan-Nuri with Yakou Maki-e.
All right, you're signed
I'm
up just because you're
I don't
confident.
speak
You can pronounce all those words for us and make us believe you're right. How's that?
Sure.
This new Nakaya pen is based on the Nakaya portable cigar model, and they like to do that. The portable cigar is one of my favorite size and shaped pens, and so I'm particularly glad when I see them basing other designs on that same shape and size. This one sports a newly developed urushi green lacquer. I know I don't think I've ever seen such a bright green urushi lacquer, but it could be new. I'm not an urushi expert. It could be new, or it could be that they're not putting so much black on top of the green. At any rate, the green looks very nice. And if you like cats, and only really if you like cats, you'll love this pen. Custom order only, $1,500 a piece, available at nibs.com, which of course is Classic Fountain Pens with John Modishaw. A week or two ago, we had on Fountain Pen Geeks website the Nakaya Fox with the Harvest Moon, which I preferred, both color scheme wise and artwork wise. I really like the way they did the fox, but I actually have a sister who's a cat person who would absolutely adore this pen. Absolutely adore this pen, and I would get the fox. The fox is $1,600. The cats are $1,500. Gentlemen, I'll open the floor to any comments you may or may not have.
I think this is a really pretty pen. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but I also have a black cat.
Okay, well, you need this pen.
Whose name is Pen Inspired? So
wait a minute.
Her name is Brooke.
The name is what?
Pen Inspired.
Your cat's name is Pen Inspired.
Libby.
Yes. Yeah. Her name is Brooke, after Esther Brooke.
Okay. For a moment there, I thought you meant the name was Pen Inspired, not inspired by Pen.
No.
Come here,
No,
Pen Inspired.
No.
But you're saying that your black cat's name
That would
is
be
Brooke.
awkward.
Oh, we're going to have to use that in a trivia contest sometime in the future. Brooke after Esther Brooke.
There we go.
Brooke is a black cat. So I suggest you call John.
Yep.
It's going to take several months for this pen to be made for you. Perhaps John will do a layaway for you. And I'm positive he would.
I love the color. The color is
really
very
cool. Is it the color with the green, the Ghostbuster green with the black and black cats? Is that what reminds me of Halloween, or is it just the black cat? Plural, black cats. And if you look at the website and look, there's a picture, a close up of the section. There's little cat paws on the section, which that's
cute.
pretty cool. Pretty cool, especially if you like cats. Yes, my sister would love this.
It's very cool.
I can totally see.
I bet this doesn't even I bet this doesn't even. You have to see this one in person. I bet.
All right, I'm hoping John
really
will have
a feel for
one
that
of
green.
these and perhaps one of the Fox with the Harvest Moon at the DC Pen Show, and I can totally see this Cat Paradise pen in Lisa's possession.
She probably would really
think,
like it.
It's like a total necessity for her. She is the president of the Pen Collectors of America. She needs to, be sporting something like this. All right, we'll move on before I put you into debt. 2 weeks ago, Maya contributed a nice article for Fountain Pen Geeks. It was Pen Club 101, and this past week, Lee Smallwood contributed Confessions of an Inkoholic. If you read the article, you'll know what I'm talking about. What stood out, what hit me in the face about his article, where he shares his love of ink and especially gray ink, is that he believes that our obsession is really one driven by ink, and that we just use pens and papers as accessory options. And I can totally see that happening because it's very, very easy to become obsessed with ink. But I think in my particular case, if I could find my perfect gray and my perfect brown, probably just gray and brown, if I could find a brown and a gray that I thought were absolutely perfect, those would be my go-to inks, and I would try not to look at any other inks ever. Doc Brown, though, I think you're like an inkaholic, are you not?
Yes, I am a bit, but even so, I'm not sure whether... I mean, if I were to choose between pens or inks, of course, one can't go without the other. But if I were to choose, I think I would choose pens, actually. I think it's nice to try types of nibs, etc. And I mean, trying the into that. But of course, I do have a lot of inks. So I guess I'm an inkaholic. I just haven't admitted it yet, but it's
right.
I think it's true.
My name's Doc Brown, and I'm an inkaholic. Brian Anderson, are you an inkaholic?
Exactly.
Well, like pens, I don't really know how many different inks I have, but to me, it's not necessarily about the ink. I mean, I like a dark red or burgundy or a dark blue, but it's not a deal breaker. I like the nib, the tactile feeling of holding the pen in my hand, and that's really what counts for me.
I think the same. And Lee hinted at a test question. He said in the article that he wrote that if he could have all and any of the pens he wanted, but was only allowed to use black ink, he would be using a ballpoint pen. And so I just asked myself that question. If I could have any and all pens I ever wanted, but could only use black ink, would I still like fountain pens? I'd have to say yes. And boy, would I have a collection of pens. and I assume that the two of you feel the same way. If there was only black ink, would you still be into fountain pens?
Is it Aurora black?
We're gonna have to call it a black that you don't much care for. So whatever one that is, we don't have to name it.
Okay.
But let's just say it's a black you don't really like.
Okay.
Would you be a ballpoint pen user?
Never.
I suppose I'm going to get the same reaction from Doc Brown. Yes, never.
Yeah, if I were, someone on YouTube actually asked me what at some video, I don't know. He commented, what if you would be in a room where there is only one ballpoint pen and you have to do some writing and you have no fountain pens? What do you do? So my answer was I would commit suicide with a ballpoint pen. I would just go.
All right, Doc Brown.
The only option,
since
really.
Ballpoints have come up, and we do know that you don't care for them, is there never an occasion where you are forced to use a ballpoint? Because I do have to use a ballpoint from time to time, and the one thing that I can always remember as an example is if I'm filling out a multi-form, no carbon required form for instance, at the post office. It's a 6-page little document that you have to press really hard on. Do you not encounter anything like that in your life that requires a ballpoint?
Let me say this about that.
Okay, no. And
but it's really no. I mean seriously, I see your point, and I'm really sure that there are professions or parts of life where you really need to have a ballpoint pen, where it's just more convenient. But it's for me, I guess fortunately that's not really the case, and I don't have to fill out forms where I really need to push down hard to get multiple copies or anything. So I can really not see a situation where I would absolutely need a ballpoint.
What about sometimes I'll encounter a card, for instance, a birthday card that is just absolutely, I know it's not going to be fountain pen friendly, and so I'll break down and use a ballpoint. Do you never encounter an absolute need to write on paper that you know will not do well with a fountain pen? Let me ask you this. When's the last time you used a ballpoint?
That was the day before the French Revolution. There have been occasions, and indeed something like a card. But then usually I'm just stubborn, and then I just keep. I'm maybe applying a bit more pressure to the card, and then I write with a fountain pen, and I just flap it around like that until it dries, and then hopefully it'll stick on. And if people can't read it, then it's too bad,
It's just too bad.
I did my best.
You did your best. And Mr. Anderson, do you occasionally use a ballpoint pen? Perhaps for the specific reason I said, the post office and their forms.
I think if you're using a ballpoint to write forms, you don't have enough fountain pens, because there are things called snorkels that
all right, so
are as tough as nail.
I don't actually have a nail in my collection at the moment, and I don't have a snorkel. But I would have to try that. Are you telling me that you have filled out a multi-part, no carbon required form with a fountain pen? So I'm just being. Yeah. I'm just being.
Esterbrook made manifold nibs.
I think I have one of those. I think you sold it to me.
But I try not to use ballpoints, but Lisa will corner me every once in a while, and she'll have me sign something, and then she hands me a ballpoint, and she says, just before I can even say anything, just deal with it.
Just deal with it. Well, ballpoints, I prefer fountain pens, but there are times, a few times each month, that I have to use a ballpoint, and so I do so. And I have a really, really nice ballpoint, so I don't even feel bad about having to do it. If you're using a ballpoint, if you like ballpoints, get yourself a really nice fountain pen, and when you use a fountain pen, you'll feel really good about it. I use fountain pens, and when I have to use a ballpoint, I have a really nice ballpoint that I can feel good about using. In fact, Doc Brown, you should feel good about using the ballpoint that you have in your daily carry, because that is one cool ballpoint. Is that the one you use to sign birthday cards?
Yeah, exactly. No, and that. Yeah, if I really have to and there's no other option and someone puts a gun to my head, then I may occasionally use a ballpoint, and then it would be that. And that one, I can tell you, is a very smooth writing.
Yeah, so yes, occasionally I have to use a ballpoint, and I have one that I absolutely love. Probably not as much as my fountain pens, but as in the ballpoint world, it's one that I absolutely love, and I'm very happy using it. And since we're talking about inks, let's talk about Rohrer and Klingner inks. Rohrer and Klingner is going to release, or has released, their 120th anniversary limited edition ink. It's a special blue-black ink that, of course, celebrates the company's anniversary, 120 years. They're making 1,000 bottles available worldwide. Now, I don't know enough about ink manufacturers to know if this is a small number of bottles or the average run of an ink. I don't know. But what I do know, they're 50 milliliter bottles, by the way, is that these bottles are numbered. It's a limited edition numbered. So each bottle will be numbered X of 1,000. About $20 a bottle. Available now at thewritingdesk.co.uk, so that would be in the United Kingdom. And I think they'll be available... Brian, I'll ask you. AndersonPens.net sells Rohrer and Klingner. Do you have any idea when this might be available here in the States?
I haven't heard official, but I think mid-July is the date that we're going to be getting it.
Now, I will admit that I have never tried, to the best of my knowledge, a Rohrer and Klingner ink. I don't consider myself a huge Inkoholic. I don't have to have every color in the world. I don't know if I have a favorite blue-black. I think I do, but I so rarely use it, I can't recall it off the top of my head. But I am, for some reason, and I'll tell you why, I know why, I'm very, very attracted to this Rohrer and Klingner 120th Anniversary Limited Edition ink, and it's because it's a numbered limited edition. I don't know why, but that just makes me want it very badly. Does anybody else feel the same, or am I just showing my true colors as an ink-aholic?
I think that's cool. I like the whole packaging. The presentation is nice. The color is
beautiful. Really is a nice blue-black.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever tried a Rohrer and Klingner ink? Brian, you have to chime in here. You sell the stuff.
We just started carrying it. I don't know that I actually have any open bottles of it at the moment. So.
Well.
It looks nice. So the colors of saturation look really great.
Right. I've never paid them any attention whatsoever. That's how little experience I have with Rohrer and Klingner. And I don't know why I have never paid them any attention. It's just, I like the bottles from Iroshizuku. Of course, everybody has to have some Noodler's ink. There's a couple of Watermans, the current names of which I do not know, but I like them and I have them. But I have never even considered seriously trying a Rohrer and Klingner. So I guess I'm going to have to get myself a bottle of this just because I want to try the ink and because, I'm going to have to get two, aren't I? Because one I just can't open. It's like a collector's item.
Right.
There's only 1,000 of them worldwide. Someday they'll be worth, $30, right?
Well, maybe one day they'll be worth 21. I guess.
You didn't chime in on this much, Stephen. You also have no experience with Rohrer and Klingner?
No, and I was just trying to think of why, actually, and I think the answer is simple. I cannot get them here. At least as far as I know, there are no Dutch stores that offer them. Most likely English stores, like the Writing Desk. I'll check them out because it does sound good. And this one, of course, I'm not sure whether I'm really attracted to the whole limited edition thing. It doesn't really seem to do a lot for me, but it's definitely a brand to check out. Yeah.
I like the presentation. The box. If you look at the website, you'll see pictures. It's a box that. How would you describe that, Brian? The whole box opens. Half of it opens on a diagonal and flips over to make the box into a triangle with the ink sticking out of its little holding spot. I like the presentation.
I think you described that
pretty well, huh?
Just well.
So yeah, this is on my to buy list. Actually, I should probably call the Writing Desk and say, what numbers do you have? I'll just make them work for it. Look, I'm looking for number 25. If you can't give me 25,
how many are we going to have to buy to get the ones we want, numbers we want?
All right, now let's go back for a moment to the DC Super Show because Greg Minuskin will be taking some of his extraordinary nibs to the DC Super Show. Did you look at the pictures of these nibs on Parker 51s at the website, Stephen Brown? Because Greg retips these and he makes a 1.7 millimeter and a 1.8 millimeter stub and ball for these Parker 51s. What is the one word that comes to mind when you look at these? Awesome. Oh, no, that's not the word I'm looking for. I'm looking for the word that you coined. This is serious what?
Oh, this is some serious nibbage,
This is the definition of nibbage,
serious
yes.
Nibbage.
These are amazing nibs.
No, that's true.
Check out gregminuskin.com. I believe this picture is at his website as well. You can find it at FPGeeks.com under the sneak peek of Greg Minuskin's DC Pen Show inventory. If you're going to make it to the DC Pen Show, you'll be able to see these live and in person. I have seen them. I don't much care for Parker 51s. I'm open and honest about that. Many people think I'm crazy, but I just say, hey, I'm leaving more for the people who love them. I like a nib that I can see. I'm not a big fan of hooded nibs, but these nibs are crazy, amazing, serious nibbage, as Doc Brown says. If you're not going to make it to the DC Pen Show, go to Greg Minuskin FPGeeks.com, and you can contact Greg directly. And if he doesn't have what you're looking for, he can make what you're looking for. That's the beauty of Greg Minuskin and his retipping, is that he'll just, what do you want? Oh yeah, I can make that. But yes, welcome to the world of nibbage. Shall we talk about this year's economy pen? And I'm being facetious. Let's talk about something high end, shall we? Doc Brown, I have a way of saying the name of this company, but it's not going to sound anything like it should, I imagine. So why don't you show us how it's done? Do you know where I'm going?
Caran dash.
See, I'm a little confused on the Caran, but it's Caran dash. I always say dash. Dash is okay. Okay. Yeah, dash. Brian, you want to try? Let's good. Have a little language class here. How do you say the name of this company, Brian?
I would have said it Caran dash.
But it's more like a Caran dash with a little accent.
I would say Caran dash. Yeah, because you know that actually Caran dash was like the sorry, Caran.
Aha, you said
I'm saying it. Caran dash.
Caran dash.
Caran dashi was there was a political cartoonist called Emmanuel Poiret, and Caran dash was his pseudonym, because it's I think it's actually the Russian
pencil.
word for
I was
pencil.
going to say pencil. Yes.
Caran dash.
And so that's where they took their name from.
I think came from Turkish, so that's
So it's a Caran dash, and it's La Rindyà limited edition fountain pen. It's the third in Caran dash's collection that honors Switzerland. La Rindyà is an autumnal procession of cattle from the mountains to the foothills where they spend the winter. The cattle are decorated, apparently, with flowers and greenery, and as what's her name? Julie Andrews would say, the hills are alive with the sound of cowbells. This pen is limited to 1,291 pieces, 1291 referring, of course, we all knew this, to the founding date of the Swiss Confederation. Available in fountain pen, rollerball, ballpoint, cartridge converter on the fountain pen, rhodium-plated 18-karat gold nib, available in fine, medium, broad. Still, Monteverde is the only one who's giving us a stub this week. €1,920 or about $2,500. This is out of my price range, and but I think it.
Is it safe?
What?
Is it safe to say this is the only pen that has a cow on it?
You know, I wouldn't think that's safe to say. I would not think so. There are lots of pens out there. This is probably.
We already had one with a cat on it, right?
It's Animal Week.
This is like an animal show.
Who's got a pet cow, though? I mean,
the Fountain Pen Zoo is what we'll call this. This is probably, we can go out on a limb and say this is probably the most expensive fountain pen with a cow on it, but I'll bet there are kids' pens in China that have cows on them. You know, cartoon cows. I would like to see the pen, of course, live and in person. I'm attracted to the shininess of it and the sleekness of it. I'm not sure that I care for the section too much. It's a steep slope from the barrel to the section where you would actually put your fingers. But I'm not sure people are actually going to use this pen more than for like signing a get well card or something like that. What do you do with a $2,500 pen like this? I mean, if I had the Alfred Hitchcock, it'd be in my pocket. But it seems more robust. The Alfred Hitchcock seems like a pen that can... This one seems dainty to me. Dainty and fragile, and should probably be kept in its box, under lock and key, under glass, in a museum.
I think it's interesting. I mean, indeed, I'm having some mixed feelings about the cow thing. I'm not sure whether it's something that really appeals to me, but you have to admit it's original, and it looks original and different, which I like. I'm also the section seems to have, apart from having this steep slope, it seems to have some kind of engraving on it. And I wonder whether that actually makes it more comfortable to grip because it has a bit of texture to it, or less comfortable because it may be irritating on your fingers. I'm not sure. But actually I could live with all of that. But what kind of bothers me is that on top of the cap, in fairly large lettering, I think the letters are larger than the cows, it says Swiss made. And I don't know. For some reason, I find it kind of distracting, and I don't really like that. But of course, it is. If it's to celebrate Switzerland, then it makes sense to put that on there. It's just that for me, it doesn't really work.
It doesn't almost seem necessary. I mean, if it's showing Swiss scenery on the barrel, do we need to put that? I agree. Yeah. I think it's a little bit too large, or maybe if they wouldn't have filled it in with black, I think it would be a little more tasteful. But I think it's a nice looking pen. I'd like to see it up person. I don't know if I'd want a cow on my pen, but
I think to fully appreciate this cow, I think you're going to have to go to Switzerland and see this procession of the cows from the mountains to the foothills, and then you'd probably be convinced that you need a souvenir. The Swiss made actually does kind of look like a billboard, but let's reserve final judgment until the DC Super Show. Perhaps we'll find one there, and the three of us together can handle it and molest it, and then get back to our audience and give what it was like in real life. Oh yeah, the cows are just lovely. Who knows what we'll think after we see it?
I like the box.
The box is really cool, isn't
it? Yeah,
the box is really cool.
The box is amazing. Yeah, I wonder. You have this scented ink. It would be amazingly cool if you would have beef-scented ink in this pen, and you would have cows and beef.
Well, you don't actually. Okay, I guess beef is the better choice of other cow smells you could come up with.
Yeah. Authentic cow dung ink. It's really brown, and we really love it.
Well, if it's nice brown, I do like brown inks. All right, let's talk about. This has nothing to do with cow smells. Let's talk about Scott Franklin. We're just moving on to the next story. Scott Franklin of Franklin-Christoph shared with us his daily carry pens. He was our victim this week. Absolutely beautiful pens, if you ask me. I especially like the Ancora Prima Reserve, which was apparently an exclusive to Pen City, which I believe was pencity.com, back when Scott was the owner. But what really, of course, caught my attention was not any of the pens, but the prototype pen sleeve that Franklin-Christoph is working on. And to see what this is, you really have to visit FountainPenGeeks.com, but it is a one-pen sleeve that is unlike any other pen sleeve I've ever seen, and of course, I assume it's leather, or at least a faux leather, and I happen to like pen sleeves, because when I leave the house, if I'm not going to take an entire box of pens, I take one pen. And sometimes my pens don't have clips. I know that's a big surprise, but sometimes they don't. So pen sleeve like this would come in really handy for me. If I remember correctly, and I don't know if this was really supposed to be public information, but I don't care. When I saw the pen sleeve, I talked to Scott about it, and he said it's coming in 3 sizes. It'll be small, medium, large, so you can get the one that fits the pen or pens you want it to use. I think he said leather will be in the medium and large sizes, and it'll be a faux leather in all 3 sizes. Apparently, it's difficult to make a small leather pen sleeve out of real leather. Had no word on pricing, but I did ask if it would be at the DC Super Show, and he said yes, it will be at the DC Super Show. So yet another thing to look forward to in August. They should do the DC Super Show every month, as far as I'm concerned. Opinions from my crew. That would be you two. Either one of you.
Yeah, that would be
sorry.
I think it's interesting. I don't normally use a single pen sleeve, but I like seems like it's a little bit tapered, so I think most pens are going to fit, or they're going to fit snugly if you push them down far enough, but I like it.
I want to see it up close and in person, and have a pen with me that I can put into it and see just how it works. And I'm going to do that in DC.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I remember I got this Omas 360, which is pretty big, and I cannot fit this in, pretty much any of my pen pouches. So this came with its own sleeve. But it would be nice. I have a couple of these larger pens. I really think for those pens, it's great to have a sleeve type of some sort that you could as you say, when you go outside, it's nice to at least put it in something, right? That your pen is somewhat
Right,
protected.
that brings up.
I
That's
like
a
the
good
idea
point,
a lot.
because I have a Denny Trio, the Mikado, which is just a fat pen, so fat it fits in nothing. I wonder if it would fit in this, because it never leaves the house because I have nothing to put it in, and you wouldn't take it out of the house if it wasn't protected. So I wonder if it'll fit in the large one. Perhaps I'll take it to DC and try it for myself. What I really like about Franklin-Christoph, and this I guess leads into the next story and picture, is that they innovate. They come up with new ideas all the time, not only in pen designs but also in don't they have that notebook cover that has a pen slot on the back along the binding? Mm-hmm. They have Penvelopes. Penvelopes are totally a Franklin-Christoph idea. Well, they came out with the Penvelope 2 now. It is finally available. I think it became available on Thursday. It's a 2-pen case. It'll attach to your belt or to the strap on your backpack or your camera bag or whatever if you want it to, or you can throw it in your briefcase or your purse. It will hold pens as large as over 1/2 inch in diameter and 7 inches long. It has room for, of course, the 2 pens, and a little extra room for business cards or credit cards or cash, or your mother-in-law. I don't know how you get her in there, but boot leather, brown or black, $49.50. Something. This is another item that I will be looking at seriously at the DC Pen Show.
That's a very reasonable price.
Yeah, they do. They do
$50 for a nice leather case.
Nice. Good craftsmanship goes into Franklin-Christoph. When I get something from Franklin-Christoph, it doesn't fall apart. It's made very well, and I like their leather products. Their leather products. I think I said that about Scott's. The picture he sent with his pens included a small portion of his 13-pen Penvelope. That Penvelope of his, every time I see it, because I see it in L.A., it looks better every year from usage. And I don't know how that works with leather, but we're talking about cows again, aren't we? This has really been the zoo show.
This is the cow episode.
So I have a few different pen cases. I'm going to say 3 cases that will hold 3 or more pens, and 2 of those cases are Franklin-Christoph, and one of them is the leather zippered, and I like that pen case a lot. And so, but sometimes you don't want to take 20 pens with you. You want to take 2, and this would come in really handy, especially if you're taking like your messenger bag with your laptop. If you don't want to throw your pens in the messenger bag, this will attach to the strap, or your book bag, or it's very convenient. The idea of it anyway, I can't wait to see it in real life, in person, right next to the Caran dash. I'll open the floor to comments.
I think it's very cool. I think I think the idea of being able to put it on the strap of your bag or something, that's really nice. I mean, I cannot really picture myself putting it on a belt, but on a bag that makes a lot of sense. Although in Amsterdam it would probably get stolen in under 20 seconds, but it's the idea is very nice. I really like the looks too. But I will look into this one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put it on a strap. I guess I would be nervous about, and I don't think we have a picture here of
it attaches
how well the pens are held inside.
Well, there is a picture at franklinchristoph.com, and
okay.
the where the pens go, it's not like 2 straps that hold the pen in. It's an entire tubing, practically, of the material that's at least 4 inches long. And then, of course, the flap of this pen case goes over the top. I think the pens are really held in well. On the back of the pen case, if you wanted to attach this to a strap or your belt, goes around the strap or belt and then attaches back to the pen case with a couple of snaps. And I can only imagine that they're strong enough to hold the pen case in place. There was a time when we all wore pagers or even cell phones on our belts. And I think we've kind of moved away from that because cell phones now fit in our pockets so much easier. But I could see that this would fit on your belt much the same way that pagers or cell phones used to. I don't know if I'd put it on my belt, but I would certainly put it on a strap on my messenger bag or something like that.
Yeah, I would keep it in my briefcase. It's a nice looking, looks like it's well done. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, well, if it's anything like all their other work, it is well done. And I'm just going to... I'll go to your table first, Brian, and leave my wallet there, and then I'll go see Franklin-Christoph's table. How's that?
I'll be happy to hang on to that for you.
Let's talk about snail mail. Snail mail that has been coming into Fountain Pen Geeks. All of it has been in relation to our month-long Edison pen giveaway, which is running, of course, the month of June. You only have to send something in via handwriting, via snail mail, something handwritten. You have to write Edison rules on it somewhere. You send it to Fountain Pen Geeks, P.O. Box 499, Highland, California 92346. As of Thursday, which is the last time I went to the P.O. Box, we have 305 entries for the Edison pen giveaway. This is not just an ordinary giveaway in that we're giving away an Edison pen. Brian Gray of the Edison Pen Company says the winner can go to his current inventory at his website and pick the pen they want with very few limitations. So you're actually, if I could enter a contest where there are only 304 other entries, I think my odds would be pretty good. I would like that contest, especially for an Edison pen, and especially for a pen that the winner gets to choose. I think this is a fantastic contest. And Doc Brown, you have not sent in an entry that I've...
No, I have not, because I thought you would just throw it out.
No, actually, if you want to enter this, you can enter it because you're not picking the winner. That was the only problem with today's.
Oh, I see.
However, you may already be entered because we got a postcard from Santa Barbara from someone who did not sign his or her name. It certainly qualifies. It says, first thing, Edison rules. And then the note says, if selected, please send the pen to SBRE Brown so he would have an Edison pen in his collection. Now, how much are you paying these people, Doc Brown?
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. Whoever did that, that's very cool.
A nameless person from Santa Barbara, very, very lovely area of California. So we're at 305 entries. There's a bit more than a week or about a week left to get your entries in. Just send them in, and we're actually going to pick the winner next Sunday. I think is July 1st or 2nd. Next Sunday is our next Fountain Pen Radio broadcast. Brian Gray himself will be on the program, and he will choose the random number that will choose the winner. So, but of course, we'll announce that at the website. We're supposed to talk now about recent acquisitions. At least that's what I have on my outline. My acquisitions for this week were 11 ink samples. Now, didn't I just get through saying I'm not much of an Inkoholic?
Busted.
Yeah, but there's a method to my madness. All 11 samples are gray inks. I am in pursuit of the perfect gray ink. And once I find it, of course, I won't have to buy any other gray ink. I'll have my favorite. I thought my favorite gray ink at one time was the J. Herbin Grinoise. But it's too difficult to read. There's not enough contrast on the paper. You have to hold it up to the light, and so I need something with a little more contrast. I'm not sure what that is yet. Yesterday I was testing Iroshizuku Kirisame. That is far too close to Grinoise as far as contrast is concerned. So I have it. I tested it. It's in my InkJournal, but now I know I don't like it. So I'll never have to. 2 years from now, when I say, gee, I'm looking for a perfect gray ink, I won't go back and revisit this one because I'll have it in my InkJournal. Today I am testing out Diatramentis Silver Gray, and it certainly is better as far as contrast, but it may have crossed the line into looking like a washed out black. So the hunt goes on, the hunt continues. That's what I got this week. That's what I'm doing. Brian Anderson, what did you acquire this week?
This is actually an unusual week. I actually did get some
That's
pens.
unusual. We believe you, Brian.
It is.
That's okay.
I save it for pen shows these days because it's just so much nicer to see them in person. But I got a Kaweco All Sport.
All right.
I saw this pen and I said, this is a cool pen and I want to try it. And it's nice. And sometimes you have, I wear dress shirts to work and I have pockets that
are short.
The pocket's not deep enough. Yeah. And so the clip doesn't work. And so I got that. And
do you have it? That's the All Sport. So it's aluminum. Is that right? So it's not a candidate for an eyedropper. Okay, continue. I won't interrupt again. I don't think, but maybe I will. Who knows?
You probably will. It's all right. And I also bought an eBay find, a Maybe Todd Swan New York made pen, overlay, ring top.
But I didn't buy it for that. This is the one you told us about in the green room before the show. You didn't actually buy it for the pen. What was the scoop on that?
No. Well, last year at the Detroit show, I was literally buying pens out of this guy's back of this guy's truck. It was kind of a hilarious thing, but he had one of them was, I'll show it here. It was a Weedlick filigree eyedropper. Well, it's not an eyedropper; it's a matchstick filler. It's a pattern very similar to the Parker 16 and some of the Heath made style overlays, but it didn't have the right nib. And so I've been searching for, 8 months to try to find a Weedlick and Simpson nib, and this Maybe Todd had the nib. Of course, you couldn't see the nib, but for $32 is what it cost me. I'm taking a gamble.
So it hasn't actually arrived yet. It's in the mail?
No, it hasn't come yet, yeah. So, but I'll be able to put the pen back together, which would be really cool.
And then you're going to have a Maybe Todd that needs a nib, but I suppose that's easier to find than a Weedlock and Simpson.
Yeah. I mean, I could always take the nib that was in here and put it in.
Well, what kind of nib is it?
It's just a 14 karat.
You said that pen that you have there is. At first you said it was an eyedropper, but then you corrected yourself and said it was something else. What did you say it was?
It's a matchstick filler.
Can you explain what a matchstick filler is?
Well, at the top of the cap, and it's kind of hard to see, there's a little nub that sticks out, and you can use a matchstick. There's a hole in the barrel at the end of the barrel here
that presses on the bar that presses on a sack.
Presses on the pressure bar, which presses on the sack.
There's a hole at the bottom of the C. Very good. And they call that. And see, I have never actually heard of a matchstick filler. That's a cool find.
Yeah, Weedlick was one of the ones that did this particular design. There were others that made matchstick fillers. Aiken Lambert made them, but then you just used a matchstick. They didn't supply the matchstick. So
well, at least there's something on the pen that you can use. I don't know. Mm-hmm. If I had to find a wooden matchstick right now in the next 5 minutes, I'm not sure I could. But I suppose there was a time when they
unfortunately,
when they were more everybody's pocket.
Unfortunately, most of the time, these are broken off.
But yours isn't.
You find them and they don't have.
Now, is this going to go in your daily? Is this going to go into your?
Got one.
Europeans apparently have matchsticks at the ready. However, I don't know that you're typical, Doc Brown. There's practically nothing you don't have.
The thing is,
just behind your camera, you have an entire storeroom full of stuff, just in case you might need it.
I know. It's like 5 kilometers that way. You can't see, but it's like a
dry cleaner. You just push a button and the things spin around and bring what you need. It's like a little bin comes to your desk.
Exactly.
All right. So what did you get this?
But you know what's funny actually? Actually, all Europeans do. So we all have this.
It's a 5 kilometer storeroom.
So you just click a button and all the stuff comes flying. Yeah. Now let me see. I got something too. I got an italics pen, which is, to be honest, a brand.
So when you say an italics pen, the italics is the brand name.
Yes, it's the brand name, and the specific pen is called Parsons Essentials, which I think is a somewhat typical name for a pen, but I think it's pretty cool. It comes with a number of nib options. You can get the standard round nibs, but you can also get italics and obliques. I think in pretty much fine, medium, and broad. I'm not absolutely sure about that. I got the italic broad, and someone recommended this to me via YouTube, and it wasn't even particularly expensive, and I have to say I really like it. Now, the fascinating thing is that I think the site where I bought this, which is mrpen.co.uk, actually does the nib grinding themselves. I'm not sure of that, but I do know they do some grinding. And interestingly enough, the nib is labeled M, so they said it is actually put down on the side that it is a medium nib, but it's just ground down to an italic broad, and that seems to work just fine. It's insanely smooth. It has, of course, being an italic, it has a specific sweet spot. But once you hit that, there's just no resistance when you put it across the paper, and I was really impressed by that. So that's.
I've never actually heard of that brand name, Italics. Well, Italix, Italics, and it came from what country?
It came from the UK, and I think, I bought it from a site in the UK, but I think it said something, I just put the box away, but it said something like made in the UK.
Made in the UK,
or something.
Italics.
So I guess it's UK.
Well, I
brand.
imagine you're probably going to do a video review of the pen at some point.
In fact, it was shot this morning, but it's not uploaded.
Very soon we will get up close and personal with Italics. Very good, because I like hearing about new brands I've never heard before that are made today, especially when they've got good nibbage, as you would say. And
this has some awesome nibbage.
Awesome nibbage.
Yeah.
I'm going to remind everybody how they can contact us. Don't forget to send in your entry for the Edison Pen giveaway. You can contact us by email at podcast@fpgeeks.com. You can call us, 415-685-GEEK, 415-685-4335. We're on Twitter, twitter.com/FPGeeks, Facebook, facebook.com/FPGeeks. We have a website, fpgeeks.com. We have a fun forum, fpgeeks.com/forum. And our mailing address is Fountain Pen Geeks, P.O. Box 499, Highland, California, 92346. And that is all I have for today, gentlemen, unless either one of you want to say any final words. Oh, and I know you got to say at least goodbye, don't you? Brian, it was absolutely really fun to have you here on the show. Thank you for joining us last minute. I guess, I was so excited about getting the show going, I forgot to mention, and I'm sure everybody noticed, Dan is not with us today. Dan had a conflict.
Well, actually, he's not here. Oh,
yeah, surprise. Somehow that didn't get put in the show notes, and so I skipped it. But now that we're saying goodbye, I really realized that Dan's not here. We missed him. He had a conflict and couldn't make it, and it was going to be Doc Brown and I said, well, Brian, you're scheduled for an appearance next month. That was going to be your debut, but I thought, well, maybe he'll just come on early. And sure enough, we worked it out, and here he is. And Stephen, of course, this was your second time. Just so everybody knows, the ink, the last time you were on the show, you said, it's a custom in Holland to, when you're invited to somebody's place to bring a small gift, you sent us ink from some Ackerman ink in the very interesting bottle that you tip over. Ackerman ink bottle is, if you search for it online, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And you sent me a very lovely brown, and I appreciate it very much. And so it was very nice to have you here again, and I can't wait to see you in DC. You also have another show scheduled for next month, so I'll see both of you. FP Radio sometime next month. Of course, the specific schedules will be announced at the website. So that's it for me, and until next week, this is Fountain Pen Radio. I'll say goodbye. Brian, you're up. You can say good night. Good night.
Good night.
Mr. Brown, I think it really is good night for you, isn't it?
Good night. No, I'm still here. Good night. Go get some cows, and
it
we'll
is
see you
the
next
cow
time.
episode. All right. See y'all later.
You've been listening to Eric and Dan on Fountain Pen Radio, a weekly podcast produced by FPGeeks.com. Thanks for listening. But the fun is far from over, as the site is constantly buzzing with new content. So until next week, thanks for coming out. Good night.